Alliance for Retired Americans. The financial crisis, that hits. The seniors are pretty much on a fixed income. They're underwater on their houses. If they don't have a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, HARP does not cover them. Is there any hope, that could be expanded?
Yeah, and you're right, in the last 18 months there have been some modest expansions of those, but one of the things that's very clear to me is that there's still a lot of people who are hurting. And I do think that a focus on what we can do to ensure that there's that safety net is warranted. What I've seen over the last 2 years after the initial legislative package in 2008 and 2009.
And it helped a lot of people.
Yeah, but
many seniors they're not under Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae's or Freddie Macs, They just have conventional loans, and they're still underwater on their homes.
And I think that's why we're going to need somebody there that will push the agenda in terms of Congress supporting folks who are in that situation. I think the toughest thing has been there was a certain allocation with these restrictions for these programs, and in order to change that, you're going to have to go back basically and get that change. That's going to take working with Congress. And that's another reason that sometimes folks ask, well, what about Bernie? You hear Bernie talk, and a lot of the things that he's saying, I agree with. I don't disagree with. I think he and Secretary Clinton have a lot of the same approach and views. But I just believe that she has been a fighter and an effective champion for so long that the chance of folks getting helped out who need it like that is much greater under President Clinton than anybody else. And so that's why I have confidence that we're supporting the right person.
Much better than Donald Trump.
Certainly, yeah.
Secretary, let me just point you back to the ELL point that I made earlier, right? We just passed the ESSA, but I think this place here in Las Vegas is like the worst place to be an immigrant child in terms of your opportunity for upward mobility. So what kind of support can we expect from Hillary at the federal level to help our children succeed?
Yeah, and she's laid out a robust agenda of supporting every student as they are.
Right.
And supporting the needs of English language learners, of diverse communities, of investing in education for everyone. Also, I think, and this is very important, and I think that teachers who teach in a bilingual setting see this every day, supporting teachers and the importance of collaboration with them to develop educational policy that makes sense, whether it's in evaluations or funding policy. I think you're going to have somebody in Hillary Clinton who is willing to listen and then fight for the investment that needs to be made. And the fact is that, and I come from Texas, I know that it's often tough because state legislatures, governors in some places don't necessarily go along with everything that the federal government would want. So it's going to take a president who is willing to stand up and also work with these states to get through a package that supports everybody. And I think that she can do that. I'm also very heartened because this is a person who understands the Latino community. I come from San Antonio, and her first political job was going down to South Texas, and she lived in San Antonio for a while, registering Latino voters. And time and again, whether it was during that time or 2008 or certainly during this campaign, she has shown a warmth and appreciation for the concerns of the Latino community. And so I think that folks like children that are in bilingual classes, English language learners, would have real support.
And I think I'm glad you brought that up because and brought up the ESAs, the education savings accounts, and the vouchers. Last legislative session was the first time since the 1920s that there was a Republican governor, state senate, and assembly, and we certainly got to see with our own eyes what a Republican agenda looks like in practice, and it was not always great for working families and middle class families. And every day there was an attack on labor. Every day there was an attack on teachers and education, et cetera, et cetera. And thank goodness we had people like Assemblywoman Diaz there and our other Democratic legislators who would go and fight every day. But it was really tough, and I know education savings account was something that ultimately did get passed, and of course is in the courts now and just had the hold. But if you, Dr. Lazo said, didn't know if you want to talk a little bit more about that and kind of give everyone an update.
Well, I don't know if you're familiar, Julian, but our voucher program just really takes $5,000 out of our public education budget, out of CCSD, to give to any parent, no matter income limitation or if they're in a bad school, and it says, here's $5,000 for you to go to private school. So our analysis has shown that about 90% of those parents are affluent parents, and the most frequent zip code is our most expensive housing zip code in Anthem. So we challenged that just based on more of a procedural amendment that was made here about 6 or 8 years ago, and we think we have high likelihood of success. But the conversation has, I think, in one way, the ESAs have helped because we're starting to talk again that our funding for education is inadequate. We don't fund ELL kids, we don't fund poverty kids, and we're funding special ed kids at such a low rate that we not only have the second lowest grad rate for ELLs, we have the lowest grad rate for special ed kids here in Nevada. So it's a double whammy for special populations.
Yeah, I mean, what always galls me, and you're right, and I've watched this in Texas as well, is that they underfund education in general. And then they create this voucher program that saps the ability of folks to really help improve the schools. My concerns about voucher programs like that are, I think that it takes resources from public schools. Maybe most importantly, there's often not the support for families to be able to navigate that system and make the best use of that. And then the third is there's no guarantee that a lot of these private schools are going to accept the kids when they come to the doorstep. In fact, I bet that if we went and looked at what's happened in a lot of these other states, they don't accept their kids. And so sometimes they paint this rosy picture of that your kid's going to be able to go to any school they want, and that's not the case. It's not an effective way, and the analysis has shown that, of improving education. And so this is something that I can understand why y'all are troubled by.
Anyways, but we're very fortunate, as Michelle said, to have a leader like Olivia to help us, fight back some of these very aggressive ed reform packages.
Well, I'm in the trenches, right? I'm the, Secretary Castro, but my livelihood is being a school teacher, and there's where my passion came to become an elected